Hi guys, Charlie here from FunkyVapes with another funky review for everyone today. We're going to take a peek at the big controversy sparker, the knockoff DuD, the DuD clone, the DuD copy, the DuD, the didn't, the whatever you want to call it. I have one here. I'm using it for about 5 days now. I know you haven't seen me review Genesis style atomizers, I don't think at all, but I've owned several. I got my first one back in May. Owned a couple hybrids. The Katana was my big project, and that's what it was so hard to rebuild it. I just threw them out the door. I got a line a couple weeks ago. I picked this up. It was dirt cheap. I actually got ripped off. I paid 40 bucks for it. I still consider that dirt cheap. They're going for like 8 bucks in the co-ops, a little more on various websites. I think they're about $25 on average. So we're going to take a peek at it. I'll talk about it, what I like about it, what I don't. There's a couple good reviews of it already with people building coils, maybe just one, maybe two. I'm not going to build a coil. You've seen coils built hundreds of times. I build my coils based on two reviewers, Scott, I Get You 69, best Genesis tutorials, and Rip Trippers, who, in my opinion, is the best at helping troubleshoot. Once you've got the basics down pat, taught me not to over tighten the nuts, switching to 28 gauge Canthal. Just he's very, very good at tweaking. And of course, I have to shout out to the two best Genesis reviewers I can think of, Mac206, Marco Seattle, and Rick R. Weschler. They've always inspired me to master the Genesis atomizers. I think it's a big step in vaping, and you can't just ignore it. They're very prolific at this point, and now that they're affordable, we should be reviewing them. So, my stance in the debate, if anyone cares, just skip 2 to 3 minutes ahead if you don't want to hear it. I'm not a huge advocate on intellectual property rights. I do believe in the concept of intellectual property, but if someone can make it cheaper, if someone can make it more accessible, all the power to them. That being said, this isn't a DuD. This is a DuD-inspired device, which I haven't called yet. It's not made of the same materials. It's chrome-plated brass instead of stainless steel. The threads are horrific. I guarantee you they are horrific. The air hole does not line up with the coil, which, in case you don't know, to me, I cannot vape anything unless the air hole's lined up. And on that same note, I've never owned a Genesis device where I didn't have to rebore the hole to 1/16. I heard the Genesises have a bigger hole on them. If that's the case, they probably would work stock, but I had to bore this one out yesterday. I tinkered with it for a few days, and I was getting nasty, harsh throat hits, and this has solved a lot of it. So we'll go on ahead to a little review section, talk about some things. First, I'll vape on it. Hey. It's pretty terrific, actually. I'll talk about this quick. It's at 11.4 watts, I guess you could say. The ohms, when the Provera reads the ohms here, they vary greatly. Even if you move the coils just ever so much, it affects your ohm rating. So this one was at 1.4. After I've been done tinkering it and just seasoning the wick a bit more, it's up to 1.6 now. So I've got it at 4.3 volts on this Provera here. And it comes to about 11.4, 11.5 watts. It fluctuates, just manipulating them. Even if you move the coil itself over, it's going to change your resistance. So I've set this one to the exact same wattage. This is a Penelope with on a Provera. This one's at 11 watts. It's 3.9 volts, 1.4 ohms. Again, this one fluctuates slightly too with the resistance, just depending on how long you've been using the coil. And I've loaded them with the exact same juice. It's a 50-50 blend from Heather's Heavenly Vapes at 6 milligrams, so we'll just vape them side by side quick. Delicious. Delicious. Now, if I had to qualify these vapes, you can't really quantify them. Sorry, this is a bit leaky here. Again, there's no real objective way to rate the vapor production, that kind of stuff. I know you can rate them on a scale, but if you didn't notice, this it's a lot airier coming out of here. This it seems to produce thicker clouds, and it's the same juice. A little creamier, a little just, it lingers more. This stuff here. I would say the same volume, just the density isn't the same. It's probably because I have a big old air hole here. And the volume is what I'm after. The nice, thick, dense vapor, that's nice too, but in all honesty, probably without modifications, if you got it working just right, it's very comparable. I love the Penelope, the Odysseus, I love silica wick rebuildables, but I'm really enjoying this as well. One key thing to note, if you're a Genesis user, you know you have to tilty tilt. Some people say you can eventually get it to the point where you don't have to. I'm not there yet. I got some 500 mesh coming in. I should have mentioned this is 400 mesh. I have a 4/5 wrap going on here. No hot spots. It's a delightful coil. Took me about 3 tries to get it down. Not too bad. Like I said, I've used Genesis styles before, and ensure the air hole lines up. Now on this one, it doesn't line up naturally. So if you screw it all the way, it's about, I'd say, 30 degrees from the coil, which makes a huge difference. So I'm going to tighten it all the way. There's the air hole. And there's about, that's where the wick is. So you have to turn it about 30 degrees and you'll get the air hole. So this is without lining everything up. Cool. I got some good vapor, but it tastes like absolute shite. I think it just gets too hot, especially that I'm at 11 watts. That's probably not helping. So all I do is I take it off completely, because there's no clear window for these yet. I mean, there's the syringe mods, but just line up, get a sense of where the coil is, and just screw it on. So to make one complete pass, I start with the air hole right in front of the coil, make a complete pass, and then one more, and just leave it there. So there's about 30 degrees before it's tightened completely, but there is an O-ring there, and I have not got a single leak at all in the couple days I've been using this. So to me, it's not a huge deal. The only kind of shitty thing is with a Provari and a busted up arm, you want to tilt it so that the coil is down. And this I learned from Zen himself. When you do that, it just helps feed the wick. And in the same breath, now that the air hole's lined up, you might get a few drops leaking out of there. So I like to put it so the air hole's not completely down, but the wick's almost down, if you get what I'm saying. So hold it like this, and then you got to figure out your Provari button. It's a lot better with a bottom button mod, but I wanted to get the watts just right. Oh, something happened. In any case, a couple little gripes with it. It's not a huge deal. The finish on it is great. It actually matches quite nicely to a chromed Provari. The threads are a bit finicky. They're very, very dainty threads. So to get it going just right, especially if you're differently abled. Not a huge deal. For the price, I mean, it astounds me how accessible Genesis atomizers are now. There's so many coming out, and to be able to pick one up for, you know, the cost of a nice 30 ml bottle of juice is it's really cool, especially if you want to play around with it. Another benefit too, I mean, you can watch any DuD tutorial and it'll teach you how to make a great coil for that. That's what I watched at first. There's only been one or two proper reviews of the DuD. So in that sense, it's close enough to the DuD. If you want to bore the air hole out, it's super, super easy. It's such a soft metal, the chrome-plated brass. It took me a couple seconds with even with a busted up hand. Yeah. Something has happened. I've lost production. It's not firing. See, my nut came unscrewed. So if you can see, this is literally the definition of finger tight. I just put it till it touches, and the odd time it'll disconnect. But it really helps with that top coil so you don't short out. That is the key, and I will thank again Rip Tripper for that. He is an absolute legend in the Genesis community. And air hole is lined up. Back to some tasty clouds. I'm not really saying anything original. This is more just my opinion. I consider myself a relatively amateur Genesis atomizer fella, but I like to think that I'm very proficient with silica wick stuff, and the transition to me has been very smooth. Again, you got to get used to holding it differently. A bottom button helps with that huge. You can line it up wherever you want. It doesn't actually matter, but it is nice in the Provari too, just for getting that consistent voltage. What more can I say? I think people should give this a chance. It's not a huge transgression upon the original designer of the DuD. I mean, it's evolved from the Scuba Gen and the original Genesis stuff from there. There's dozens of Genesis atomizers out there. Whether it should be called the DuD clone, probably not, because it's not a clone. I just don't like mincing words. You should definitely buy one if you've been curious about Genesis styles. I would definitely recommend this over, you know, I believe this is actually a line clone. I think it's called the Depthcon. I absolutely do not like this at all. It's got the just the post that you wrap it around, and I find I get tons of shorts this way. And the wick is in the middle, which is awful too, because you're losing that valuable 2 to 3 millimeters of closeness compared to the air hole, which it makes a huge, huge difference whether that air hole's lined up or not in terms of flavor, vapor, throat hit, all the above. Easy enough to fill. I haven't had any leaks at all. I would love to see a clear window come out stock. I don't want to make a syringe mod. Just I'm no good with a Dremel. It's getting a wee bit dry here. Yeah, my coil's starting to have a little bit of glow going on here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. It might be that I tightened this too much. Much too much. Basically, I just tilt it a bit, get some happy juice flowing there. This is not something I do on a regular basis. It's normally good all day, just because I've been tinkering with it on and off camera here. But yeah, these threads are a little bit of a nuisance. Very finicky. Oh dear God. This must be excruciating to watch. Just annoying. Especially when I was turning it the wrong way the whole time, which is always great. Woohoo! absolutely, I would even say more vapor than the Penelope. It's just not as thick. It doesn't linger as much. Like I said, to me, it's not a huge deal, and the flavor is fantastic. I usually change my Penelope coil out every day, every 2 days, especially when I'm using the darker juices. I've been using Gandalf a lot, and that one's at least, yeah, you have to change it every day. But with this juice, it's a lighter juice. It's called Parrot Head. It's essentially it's essentially crystal clear, almost like water. And I change it every 2 days on here. But this, I mean, same coil, 3 days. I'm essentially rambling. What it boils down to is, to those who haven't used a Genesis-style atomizer before, very accessible. There's just essentially unlimited quantities of them. Very, very affordable. Even if you have a nicer Genesis atomizer, you might not be able to afford 6 of them if you want them for all your devices. This is a good way to bridge the gap and just, they could be a placeholder. Give them away to someone else who wants to try them. It doesn't really matter. If the chrome wears off, drop 20 bucks. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but that's just my opinion. So in any case, this is the DuD, the DuD, the didn't, the DuD clone. I called it the DuD. That's not good. In any case, it is what it is. It's a copy. It's an inspiration from an original. I really have no issues with it, considering the price that I paid. Like I said, it was 40 bucks. So at 25 bucks, 7 bucks, you can't go wrong. Oh. And that's how I vape too, just. I'm usually taking back-to-back drags just like that, no dry hits. So thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. Vape groovily, everybody, and I'll catch you later.